It's the Agribusiness Report. I'm Tony St. James, and we're on Capitol Hill this week talking to members of the House Ag Committee and the Honorable Dusty Johnson representing the great state of South Dakota. It's great to see you.
It's Farm Bill week. It's a big week.
It is. Now, this is your first Farm Bill?
It is, yeah. The last one, of course, we took the 5-year Farm Bill. We extended it to a 6th year. We hope we don't have to do that with a 7th year. But more than half the House has never voted on a Farm Bill before. There's a constant education process.
There's a lot of moving parts in this as well. When you look at the Farm Bill, is this a piece of legislation you feel pretty good about?
I do. We spent a lot of time in the field listening to producers. I think those of us on the Ag Committee had something like 75 different field hearings or listening sessions. So what did we hear? We needed to protect crop insurance. We've done that. We need to emphasize working lands conservation. We've done that. We need to make sure that we are adjusting for a very different inflationary environment than we were in 7 years ago. We've done that through increasing reference prices. We need to make sure that we're opening up markets to American ag. We're doing that by doubling our investment in those areas. We are really hitting the sweet spot here.
There are some concerns, however. I mean, we're dealing with a situation where our nation has spent a lot of money. How does the Farm Bill work its way in when those who say we've got a lot of debt? How do we move forward with the Farm Bill?
Well, we're absolutely, listen, $34 trillion debt is an embarrassment, and that's why I voted against $13 trillion in spending just in the last few years. But we're not dumping a bunch of new money in this Farm Bill. To the extent that we prioritize certain programs, it's because we found money in other parts of the Farm Bill. This is really about reallocating the same pie rather than pouring a bunch more money into that pie.
I know you've kind of touched on your priorities there. Have you been able to check off all of them that you had?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not everything has been done exactly like how I wanted, but this is a collaborative process. I mean, when you've got 435 members of the House, 222 Republicans, not everybody's going to get the exact language they want. But I would tell you, being a subcommittee chairman, helping to draft the Farm Bill, I would tell you that a lot more of this language is like how I wanted to see it. Chairman Thompson has been a good leader of the team, and I think we have a piece of work we can all be pretty proud of.
Is it also a testament to the work that's been done when you have so many ag groups that have lined up in support, whether we're talking pork producers or cattle producers or Farm Bureau or whoever?
If anybody is saying anything negative about this, I just haven't seen it yet. I mean, you're always going to have a certain number of gadflies, and obviously this is a really complex part of policy. When you're talking about food security and feeding the world, this is no easy thing, right? But you're right, overwhelmingly. People are looking at this work product and saying that this will get us another 5 years of predictability in farm and ranch country.
What about, I came across something, Forest Act. Mm-hmm. What is that and why is that important?
I've got a real passion for national forests. The Black Hills National Forest in South Dakota is an absolute jewel for our nation. I also was in telecommunications before I came to Congress. I understand how important it is for us to expand that rural broadband. And so my Forest Act just makes it clear that there are lots of instances where we do not need to do a whole new environmental impact statement or a new environmental assessment to put telecommunications facilities into our national forests. If we're just replacing telecom that's already there, we shouldn't have to do that environmental review. And also, if we've already done an environmental review recently for a different purpose, we should be able to use that successful environmental review and also apply it to this telecommunications infrastructure. The combination of those two provisions in my bill is going to make it easier for us to get rural broadband out to rural America.
If throwing money, and I'm kind of using this loosely, but if we could throw money at a problem and fix it, some would say rural broadband would be fixed by now. Are there some steps in addition that that we need to do as a country to bridge that divide? Is it more than just money?
I'm always a little surprised. I mean, listen, I get it. It's a modern world where people are impatient. But anybody who doesn't understand how quickly we've come online is simply ignorant of the facts. Over a 5-year period, we went from having 5% of Americans having access to 250 megabits per second to having 90% of Americans. It is an unbelievably remarkable 5-year stretch. People say, oh, why don't we have the same urgency behind this that we had for rural electrification or the universal service program for dial tone? It took 40 years and 60 years to get those projects done. What we have done with rural broadband in this country has never been done before in any infrastructure project for any large base landed country in the history of the world. That doesn't mean the job is done, but it does mean that people who aren't willing to celebrate the successes that we have had, they're just trying to stir the pot.
It's so good to see. I know this is a crazy busy week for you. Thank you for your time and the work you do.
Well, this is really important stuff, and as somebody who comes from the number 3 or 4 most largest agricultural district in the country, as somebody who did rural broadband as a career before I came to Congress, the stakes for these issues almost could not be higher.
He's the Honorable Dusty Johnson from South Dakota, member of the House Ag Committee. And from the Capitol, I'm Tony St. James. This is the Agribusiness Report.